This is not going to be a happy video.
I'd rather keep it real with ya.
Hey everybody, it's me, Minu, back with another video. Here's Sadie. Hey Sadie. So, as you guys know, Sadie's gonna try to keep me calm during the video. She's here. She's here. She's doing her emotional support animal best to keep me calm and happy. So thank you, Sadie. Okay, I don't need you. Why your nose wet? Why your nose is always wet? Stop rubbing your nose in my face. I don't know if it's snot or saliva. Either way, get down. What? She just in my hand like, no, you're not gonna make me get down, ma'am. Okay, so no, please, no. Okay, so as I was saying, Sadie, I had to kick her down. I don't know why, she just loves chewing the crotch out of my pants. And if I have some strings on my pants that she could play with, she's gonna go in. So she literally started doing that, and I was just like, get down, get off of me. You cannot bite me in the crotch. I don't understand what the problem is there. Made me feel a little bit better though. So trying to relax, trying to calm down. So as you know, I uploaded a video last week where I was going to tell you guys all about, working with white people and the tea about what went down at my job that made me look stupid for thinking that working with white people was gonna work for me. And it's not like it's like an all white people thing, but I don't know. There's a certain balance you gotta have. You know what I mean? Like, you can't work for all black people. You can't work for all white people. You can't work for just all white women. You can't work for just all black women. Like, there's some type of balance you gotta have, and it's just I can't find that balance. But I was gonna give you part 2 of that, and then I was gonna make part 3. Giving you updates on how all of that nonsense is gone. But I'm really, really upset, and it's hard to focus on any of that. But I will try. If you see another video with me in the same shirt, it's because I tried to make part 3 of that so that I could keep you guys updated on what in the world is going on in my life. But I don't have the energy. I'm probably not even going to edit this video that much. So if you see me in a video doing a lot of sniffing, I'm probably not going to edit that out as much because I'm just like, I'm tired. So basically what happened Friday, right? I'm going through all this stuff at work. It's all this nonsense, high volume type of job. Everybody's mad at you. You're just, because I work in HR. It's all my fault all the time. And my phone starts blowing up. I'm like, why is my phone blowing up? Like, my phone's on silent. Why is my phone blowing up? And I see my group chat is blowing up. Now, I knew one of my friends was, not one of my friends, but like one of the people in my group therapy is, they're traveling. They're outside of the country. So I was like, oh, maybe they're just, posting pictures of their trip and stuff. But it's going. And I'm like, something's weird. And then, so how sometimes you see the messages pop up at the top before it gets filed away or erased or whatever. And it's like saying something along the lines of like, I'm so upset, I can't focus, this is too much, And I was like, oh no, somebody's having a crisis moment, right? And so I go in to see what's going on. If someone's in crisis, I want to help, so I'm like, okay, take a break, let me see what's going on, see if I can help in any way. And somebody says, oh, you're talking about Roe v. Wade. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah. And then I started seeing these messages where people were talking about, and it's women in my group. So it's like one woman talking about her assault, another woman talking about her fertility issues and stuff like that, and bodily autonomy and all of that. And I'm like, why are we talking about this? What happened? And I messaged, I'm like, guys, did it happen? Was Roe v. Wade overturned? And they were like, yeah. And I was just like, the wave of exhaustion that hit me, I can't even describe, like it just hit me, you know what I mean? And I know other people, when stuff like this happens, you know, like even with the shootings and stuff, like when stuff like this happens, other people, they get angry, they get energized, they are ready to go out and fight, protest in the streets, burn some shit down, especially my white liberal friends. But for me, this stuff just, it's exhausting, like all of it, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, being a woman, being a black woman in this country is like an extra layer of just shit that just makes you tired. Like, you feel so much weight of so many things, and that's not even to pull in like the amount of trauma, generational trauma, you know, family trauma, childhood trauma, all that stuff is just exhausting. So I see that on my lunch break, and I come back from my lunch break, and I'm training a temporary worker that we have on my job, and I tell her, like, and this is a black woman, and I tell her, like, hey, like, it's really hard right now. Like, it's hard. Like, I don't know, I'm supposed to go back to work like everything's normal, and like our democracy's been crumbling for a while, but it's really been accelerated for the last 4, 5, 6 years, you know what I mean? And it's hard for me to sit here and do work, you know what I mean, and answer people's stupid questions about stuff, or like deal with people who are mad at me for no reason when this is going on. Like, it's like so many more important things, and it's like my company is silent about it, you know. And I'm not saying that they are required to, or that they have to, but it really shows you a lot of these companies have donate, especially the larger ones. A lot of these larger companies have donated money to things like anti-gay bills, anti-trans bills, you know. They donate money to these foundations that literally attack the rights of the humans in this country. So it's not surprising that they are going to try to make it seem like they're apolitical and like not make any statements. They didn't make any statements about the shootings either. And even if they didn't, like, even if you could chalk that up to the company wanting to be apolitical, I feel like my manager should have said something. But lately, and it's like I have to tell her that this stuff is a struggle, like, and she should know, as a woman with kids, like, some of these things that have been happening with the school shootings and all of that stuff, like, she should know that this is the time to comfort your employees. But she doesn't say anything. Like, I don't think she spoke to me directly the rest of that day. Like, she was just like messaging everybody and trying to and working, you know. And she's told me before she can just switch her brain off and not worry about stuff. And I'm like, what a white woman thing to say. I could just you know, me and my family, we're well off. We make a lot of money, and if she ever needed an abortion, I guess she just fly to Mexico, you know. Like, that's an option that people like her have that other people don't. And it's just really upsetting, because I remember, and it's like, it's the least you can do as a leader to acknowledge the feelings of your employees. Like, most of my team is women. Nothing was said. Most of my department is women. Nothing was said. Everybody's just busy working. And I doubt I'll hear anything about it on Monday either, because like it was complete silence about the shooting. I had to bring it up in a meeting, but I remember, in the interest of saying like people should try, I had this white man manager one time, and when I can't even remember, another black man was murdered by police, and there was video footage. We had a meeting, and he was like, whatever we were going to talk about in this meeting isn't important. What's important is us acknowledging what has happened, acknowledging that the impact that it has on us as people, and me giving everyone a safe space to talk about their feelings about what's going on. And I really appreciate that. I didn't really say anything, but other people did. So I really appreciated us being given the space to do that. But in my current company, it's just business as usual, and it's so disappointing, because I'm a big, like, it's like I'm a people person, but I'm not a people person. Like, I care about people, but I don't like to be around a bunch of people all the time. So it's like, for me, it's like, say something. Like, I got people being mad at me over stupid shit. Like, I need time to acknowledge how I feel. I need time to acknowledge, like, what's going on. And I'm not being given that time, you know. Like, I want to take all next week off, you know. Like, that's how upset I am about all this nonsense. But I know that everything will literally fall apart if I'm not there. My manager will literally fall apart if I'm not there. And I want to take off the rest of that day. It's just upsetting. It's hard to be around people and be like, oh, hi, good morning, how are you, and pretend that this other stuff isn't happening. And it's like, I've been doing that my whole life, obviously, as a Black woman, but I think it's become even harder in the past several years. I would say I didn't get into politics until I went to college, and around, you know, the 2016 elections. That's when white people lost their damn minds. You know what I mean? Like, I was at this majority white college, and everything was, you know, I'm learning about woke topics, you know, learning about history, and learning about the racism and the bigotry and the terrorism in other countries and their wars and all that stuff, all normal. But then the white people just started wilding. And I remember having to be conscious of it, because at first I wasn't going to vote. You know, my family hardly ever votes. They definitely don't protest. It was never something that I thought was something that I had to do. But the white people on my campus started wilding. You know, they started, you know, graffitiing things everywhere and putting like racist statements and, you know, harassing people. Like, I started getting a lot of people just like walking up to me about, like, to tell me their opinions about Black people, like, that I didn't even know these people. Like, it started wilding. Like, people started writing articles, you know, like, we had people started making anonymous posts. We knew they were from our school, but they started making these anonymous posts where they were spouting a whole bunch of racist stuff. They were talking about how badly they wanted to cleanse our campus of the brown and the Black people here. They were calling us all kinds of racist names. And we were very much a minority at the college. By no means were we a visible presence. Like, sometimes spotting another Black person was like a huge thing. You were like, oh my God, one of me. There you go. There you are. You know, a lot of times you're the only Black person or the only person of color in a class. But just that small percentage of us was too much for the racist white people. I remember meeting a Republican guy, and he told me he was Republican. I laughed. He was like, why are you laughing? I'm like, well, y'all just say a lot of crazy stuff. Because at this time it was like, you know, the Republican men were saying stuff about the R word and how women can just shut it off, and trying to make it seem like it was the woman's fault when stuff like this happened to her. And I was like, y'all be saying a lot of crazy stuff. He's like, well, Democrats do too. And I'm like, not to the extent of what y'all be saying. And don't get me wrong, by no means are Democrats like innocent in any of this. They let a lot of this shit happen because they are very much about maintaining the status quo, which means that rich white people rule the country. But the Republicans have been very, very aggressive since 2016. And it's like, that's when I started paying attention. Like, I don't even think I voted in the primary election. Is it called the primary election? The one where you vote which Democrat's going to run for president. I didn't even vote that. I was just confident, you know, ignorantly thinking that the right person would win. And then I would vote for them in the main election. The right person did not win. And then I was like, oh crap, you know, with what's going on, you know, I have to vote. I have to go out there and vote. I have to pay attention to what I'm voting on. And that was my first time going to vote. And when I went to vote, there was all this other stuff on the ballot. Like, it wasn't just who's the president, you know what I mean? It was like, I was voting for other people. Like, I was voting for like stuff in my county. I was voting for ordinances and bills and stuff. And I was like so confused. Like, what is this? Like, I don't understand what's going on. And then I started thinking like, oh, it's not even enough to just go vote. Like now I got to go educate myself. I got to learn about this stuff. And politics is boring. Don't get me wrong. It's always seemed super boring. But it became more interesting. And I started going on YouTube and I started trying to find people who could explain things to me so that I can understand what was going on, because there are certain people who can afford to ignore things. There are certain people who have the privilege to ignore things. But like me and people who look like me were actively in danger because of the people who felt entitled and confident in their racism, their sexism, you know. I started becoming more aware of all of these sexual assaults that were happening on my campus, and not just on mine, but like that this was a common thing among college campuses, you know, that there were certain frats that were well known for, assaulting girls or getting girls drunk. Because I was foolish. I was going to parties. I was drinking what they gave me. And I started talking more and people started opening up about what's happening to them. And I was like, I can't just drink from your cup. I don't know you. You know what I mean? I had to become more conscious, because if not, I would have fell victim to so many things. I had to watch people. I had to gauge the type of person they were. You know, I had to be on the lookout for that face in the crowd that's looking at me like with disgust, because they might be one of them people who snuck on campus with their guns. Or, you know, being in the South, they didn't have to sneak on campus with their guns. They could have just brought their guns because of the type of place that we live. I have to be on the lookout. Like, we had to have networks where we tried to figure out the guys who were repeat offenders of sexual assault, you know what I mean? Because we were being silenced when it came to trying to expose those people, and they were getting away with what they were doing. And we had to become more and more conscious of it, and always looking over our shoulders. Like, I'm looking over my shoulder for someone who's going to assault me sexually, and someone who might assault me just for being black. You know what I mean? Like, it just became so scary. And don't get me wrong, my life was already scary. Like, I had every trauma you can think of, I had it. But it became even more scary when these people became emboldened and entitled. You know, the more certain people got away with what they were doing, the more they did it. You know what I mean? The more I started seeing the same names come up when it came to women on my campus being assaulted. And it was just an awful thing to think about. And I was like, I wasn't too sure of what I needed to do. I know that there was protest on campus. There was pressure applied with regards to like some of the racist stuff, but it wasn't much they could do because they didn't actually know who did what. You know what I mean? Like, we would just all get up in the morning and be walking to class and see the sidewalk has graffiti with racist stuff on it. The walls have graffiti with racist stuff on it. You know, I don't want to mention the very specific incident because it's going to tell you exactly what college I went to and where I was. But there was some incidents that were very, very triggering for Black people. It was very traumatic for people on my campus. And so I started getting more interested in voting and being like, okay, I need to vote in the midterms. I need to vote in the primaries, you know, and I was doing more, and I was trying to educate myself more, trying to learn more, trying to learn about the other side, trying to learn about our side, trying to learn about what's the best route, who's responsible for what, you know what I mean? Looking into these companies and what they're actually doing. And even that feels like it wasn't enough. Like, I don't know, like it felt like the second Trump won and he started putting all these people in place, stacking the Supreme Court, and you know, and when you vote for the president, you're also voting for like representatives and Congress and all that stuff, and it's like it just became so stacked against us. That one win messed up so much, created a trickle effect to the point that even though he's not in power, he's not the president anymore, we're still dealing with the after effects of people being allowed to let their nonsense come out, their racism, their sexism, their misogynoir, you know. Like, I've seen so many more vocal bigots from all races, really, and it's very, very upsetting. I've seen so many more men, like these incel men who are mad at women for not sleeping with them, who want to, commit violence against women, who want to force themselves on women. And I haven't watched Handmaid's Tale. I know what it's about. I haven't watched it because I don't like watching stuff that real. But like, you see these attitudes coming out more and more, especially from the religious people, like religious people getting exposed for doing horrible things to young girls and forcing them to get abortions and forcing them to, do things that would allow them to miscarry, or flying them out of the country to get a secret abortion, like stuff like that. And these are the same people who will get on the stage and say that this is about life and about babies and all of this stuff, but also are the same people who don't care about the shootings. They're also the same people who want women who are forced to have children, who are living in poverty, to lose access to those children, you know what I mean? Or to go to jail for not being able to care for those children they were forced to have. They want women who have miscarriages to, go to jail, but not the men who force themselves on young girls to go to jail. Like, that makes no sense. And it is hard because a lot of the women, I have a mostly woman family, a lot of the women in my family have been assaulted. Some of them have had children from those assaults. Some of them have had miscarriages. Some of them have had to get abortions. And like, I think that, without giving out too much of people's business, like, I'll just throw out some examples of stuff that I know have happened. Like, you miscarry, but you don't know you miscarried. You go to the doctor, you get all the stuff. They're like, oh, congratulations, you're pregnant. They have that record now that you're pregnant. You come back, they find out that you miscarried. The world Republicans want us to live in, the world that these conservatives want us to live in, is that a woman who finds out she's miscarried can be charged with abortion because we have no idea why she miscarried. We don't know what happened in the body. We just know the after effects. So they could go and say, well, maybe you took some pills on purpose. The fact that children who are victims of abuse and assault will be forced to carry those children, and it could literally kill those children because their bodies aren't made to give birth to children. They're kids themselves. And the fact that conservatives live in a world where they think that that's okay, where they think that a woman whose child is already gone, like my mom before me, my mom was pregnant and she had went to the hospital and found out that the baby was dead, and she had the choice of they could take it out or let it come out on its own. That could be considered an abortion. Like, she could be forced to carry this lifeless form in her body and deal with the trauma of carrying that form in her body because of these laws, especially in the South. Now, because my mom is anti-abortion and my sister is anti-abortion and all of that, and my family is mostly anti-abortion, she was like, oh no, don't take it out, blah, 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 blah. I'll let nature decide, you know what I mean? But if she wanted them to take it out, she should have that right to have them take it out. You know what I mean? And it's just upsetting. I'm not surprised. This country's been a shithole. And I feel like the thing too is, like, one of the things I talked about in one of my other videos is, like, as I learned more about what was going on around me, I learned how much things hadn't changed that much. We just thought they did because time had passed. And some white people, some woke white people, liberal, progressive, whatever, they would get so offended because they'd be like, what do you mean? How can you say that? Things are so much better now than they were before. Look at us. Look at us. Black people are still being murdered by police, and the police are walking away unscathed. You have police, coming into people's houses and killing them, killing them as they're retreating, killing them as they're running away, killing them as they're driving away, killing them as they're sitting there with their hands up. That's no different than 100 years ago when they were hunting down black people because they felt like it, because they wanted to. You know what I mean? You have women being forced to have children that they don't want, regardless of the reason. I don't care if Susie slept with a guy and then she found out she was pregnant by him, but she don't fuck with him no more, so she don't want to have his baby. I don't care what the reasoning is for why a woman would get an abortion. It should be her choice. Or their choice or his choice, depending on the person's gender. But it doesn't matter to me the reason. It's nobody's business why you choose to have that happen. And it's like another thing that I feel like people aren't talking about. And I know some people brought up, like, you know, they're coming for contraception, they're coming from gay marriage. Something else that I feel like people didn't talk about was that, if I'm not mistaken on the statistics, black women are, if not almost are, like, we have the highest rates of, you know, death during childbirth. You know what I mean? Like, black women are like the most likely to die during childbirth because of the treatment. And don't think money saves you, because I think it was Serena Williams. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm literally just talking here. But I know it was somebody famous, and I think it was her, who spoke about going to the hospital and desperately needing help and being ignored, invalidated, not believed. You know, she could have died because of how doctors treat black women, you know. And I know in my city, lots and lots of black women die in childbirth. So they want to force us to keep the child and not have an abortion, knowing that we have very, very high rates of dying during childbirth, you know, knowing that the chances of that child not being able to eat, you know, or growing up in poverty, food insecurity, potential abuse, potential drug use. You know, you could be a woman who's a drug addict and your child is now addicted to whatever drugs you're doing because you got pregnant. That woman doesn't deserve to get an abortion. It makes no sense to me. And it's like, and the other thing about it too is, like, it's still really easy as a woman of color to go get sterilized. You know, I have a friend who went and got it, younger than me, no kids, got sterilized. I thought about it only because I wanted to stop having a period. And when I realized that I would still have a period, I said, no, I don't want to do that. But, you know, women of color will sterilize a woman of color so easily. They will allow women of color to die in childbirth so easily. You know, they don't care about the lives of women of color. And if you're a white woman and you want to be sterilized, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder for you. You have to fight these doctors. You know what I mean? But it's just like, they want us dead. You know, that's the whole thing of it. They want us abused. They want us dead. They want to get away with the stuff that they do to us. And that's what these laws are about. These laws are not about protecting anyone. These laws are not about saving anyone. You know what I mean? Like, these laws are about wanting the people they don't like to die. That's what they want. They want you to die, and they want you to suffer because they are hateful, spiteful, disgusting human beings who have nothing else on their minds other than how they can make other people's lives more miserable. Because when they want an abortion for their mistress or their daughter or their sister or their mother or their wife, they're going to get that abortion regardless of the laws. The laws they are building are not for them. The laws they are building are for poor people and people of color to die. They want gay people dead. They want trans people dead. You know what I mean? They want trans kids dead. They can lie all day long about what their motives are, but we know what their motives are. They want us dead. And these are the people who keep getting voted into office. You know, and even when you vote in your local elections, it's really hard in the South. You could vote in your local elections and still see overwhelmingly these Republican white people. Or sometimes you just don't even have an option. You don't even have good options in the South sometimes. Sometimes it's literally between the Trump Republican and the other Republican. The one that's stupid or the one that's smart but evil. And you got to figure out which one you rather go with. And that stuff is very hard. It's very hard. It's very exhausting. I'm tired. I know what this country is about, but I hoped that we could turn it around by, you know, the exposure, you know, making the videos, being in groups, being vocal, educating people. You know, I've said that have a friend who used to be racist, isn't so racist anymore. They've started to come around, and I hope that we could do that. And we tried it. We tried doing it the nice way. You know what? We marched in the streets, all peaceful. You know what I mean? And I think that's what people forget. We marched in the streets and were peaceful, and they still shot MLK. You know what I mean? We did peaceful protests even today, and the police still showed up with riot gear and hoes and dogs and shit like that. And we even tried the violent way, and we got arrested, and some of us, you know, brutalized by the police. Meanwhile, the other side gets to storm the Capitol and almost murder people with the intent to murder people, and they get away with it. We know what's going on. We see them. We see the politicians playing in our face, laughing at us like it doesn't matter how upset you are. We knew they were going to overturn Roe v. Wade, and people protested and people were upset, and they didn't care, because what could we do to them? The only thing we can do is work on stop letting these people in office. Sadie just sneezed. Is stop letting these people in office. That's the only power we have. Because once they're in there, they can do whatever the fuck they want. We cannot touch them once they are in that seat. The only time we can hurt them is during election season, to make sure that they're not in that seat anymore and that someone else replaces them, if we have the option of someone to replace them. And another thing you have to remember too, just because someone's black, just because someone's a woman, does not mean they are going to be fighting for the interest of black people, does not mean they're going to be fighting for the interest of women. You know, like, there's a saying, you know, all skin folk ain't kin folk. Because being black does not automatically mean you're going to fight for black people. You could easily just be someone who's greedy and wants money, and you will happily tap dance for the white folks to get as much money in your pocket as possible. There are people who are very money oriented, very greedy, and they go into that because they know that they can make a shit ton of money off whoring themselves out to people who don't think that they deserve to live. You know what I mean? So I say all this to say, like, the only thing we can do is when we go to vote, make sure we look up the people we're voting for. And if we don't have that many of good options, just go with the best option possible. But sometimes you really got to get out that person who's been there. Like, we have people who have been voted consistently every election. They've been in that same seat for years, because some people are scared of change and they'd rather stick with the evil they know. And I understand that. But they have to know that we will vote them out. They have to know we're going to do something. We can stand outside Washington all day long. We can stand outside the Senate. We can stand outside the Supreme Court with our signs and everything. We dissent. We disagree with what you're doing. They don't give a fuck. They're still getting paid. FedEx is still lining their pockets. Amazon still lining their pockets. You know, Google's still lining their pockets. They're still going to get paid. You can't do anything to them standing out there with a sign. Now, if you want to go do that, fine. But I'm not seeing them do anything or care. Like, we've confronted people at the fucking airport, you know what I mean, at restaurants, and all they do is cry victim. Oh, look, everybody's bullying me, must mean I'm doing the right thing, right? That's not how that's going to happen. The biggest thing you have to do is, one, you have to sway people. The people who are voting for them, who are super crazy, we can't stop the super crazies. But the moderates, at least, need to understand that they are killing people with their votes. They don't give a fuck about taxes. They're killing people with these votes. They're choosing to believe the ignorance that is being spouted to them. Like, my cousin's husband gets on my damn nerves because he just believes everything that he reads on Facebook. You know, like, he gets so upset about trans kids because he's so sure that the second a kid thinks they're another gender, their parents strap them down to the table and mutilate their genitals. Like, he's so sure of that. No matter, he does not go read any sources. He doesn't know of any situations where it actually happened. He read it on Facebook, or he watched a video and the video said it. So he was like, this is what's happening. And he even admitted, like, at this point, his mind is made up and he doesn't care who disagrees with him or tries to sway his opinion on the internet. He doesn't care. And what consequences he get? Nothing. His friends are still his friends. His family members don't care. His wife don't care, that he has these views. Like, people need to start feeling the consequences of their actions, their propagating of misinformation. They're lying about trans people. They're lying about CRT. They're lying about what's actually happening in the real world. And those lies that they believe and that they're pushing out to other people are literally influencing them to vote for people who are going to kill them, want to see them die. You know what I mean? And it just upsets me that, sometimes it feels like it's not enough to even be conscious of this stuff and like educate people or, go out and vote, because you need everybody to vote. You need the majority of the people in this country to vote for the right people in order for us to get actual change. And right now again, they don't want people of color to vote. They don't want poor people to vote. That's what they're doing when they're passing all those laws. You know what I mean? And when they're redrawing lines so that they can make the electoral college in their favor, like, they're playing in our faces. They're doing it in our faces. I used to believe in like the Illuminati and stuff, that all of this was like, conspiracies, right? Like there was secret behind the scenes meetings and dealings and stuff like that. This shit public as fuck. It is public. Whether the news outlets are reporting on it, or they're actually saying this shit in interviews, they're having public hearings where they're saying this shit. There, you can see who's paying who. You can look up who's getting donations from what companies. You can trace people who work in the pharmaceutical industry and then go and work in politics and then do a lot of work to make it so the pharmaceutical industry can fuck us over. You know what I mean? You can see people who've worked for these giant insurance companies or these healthcare organizations going into politics and then fighting against Medicare for all because they're being paid by their people that they work with, or they're still sitting on the board. You have people in these, you have billionaires sitting on government boards, influencing stuff, building foundations that influence the people, building foundations that funnel money into the pockets of politicians to make sure that they vote for their interest. You can see all of that. We have the internet. We have YouTube. We have all of the news sites that you can go to and look at this stuff in. We have the government literally post this stuff publicly for everyone to see. We can't pretend that it's being hidden. It's not hidden. It is blatant. It's very much in our face. Even if you think about like, and I'll say this and I'll let y'all go because I know the video's been going on for a long time. But even if you think about like after slavery, right? There was all these massacres in these different cities where white people were literally trying to commit genocide and kill off the black people in their area. And the government documented it. Like, there are government documents full of testimonies from people where they named names. They called people out. It was the police officer. It was the sheriff. It was the mayor, who broke into my house and assaulted my wife and burned down our house after robbing us. Like, stuff like that. It's there. We have to look at it. We can't keep pretending that these are some secret evil geniuses sitting in a dark room with cloaks on and shit, making blood pacts. They're doing it in our faces. And we have to do something. We have to let them know that we see them. We see them for their lies. We have to call them out on it. And then we got to make it so where they can't sit in whatever seat that they're sitting in anymore because they are not representing the interest of the people. I don't know how. I'm not a political scientist. I'm not a politician myself. But we have to do whatever we can to kick these motherfuckers out of their offices in our local elections and our government, like our larger elections, smaller elections, whatever. We have to kick these people out of their seats, because as long as they're in those seats, they're gonna be they're going to get paid, not just from the government, but they're going to get paid in all these donations for these companies that want to influence what they have to say. I love how Sadie's just sitting there looking at me like, oh, what, you did a deep breath? You okay? I want to thank y'all for listening to me rant about this. So upset about it, but I wanted to get it out there. Just to tell you how I'm feeling about it. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. I'm tired. I really wish that I was one of those people who gets energized to go out and protest or loot or fuck some shit up. And I'm really not. I'm really tired. I want to go to sleep. I went to sleep. I woke up. I want to go back to sleep. And then I have to go back to being a normal person. I have to go clean the house and wash the dishes and clean the toilets and vacuum and buy groceries and do all of this shit. Like, everything's not crumbling. It's scary, but I'm going to do my best to take care of myself. I hope you guys take care of yourself because you deserve it. Give yourself love and grace. And eat and sleep and drink water and do everything you can to get yourself to the place where you need to be. I am going to hug my cats, and I'll have the video for you guys about the working with white people next week. But this week I just needed space to talk about it. And if you want to talk about it and you need space to talk about it, feel free to say that in the comments. Feel free to come in my Discord and talk about it. Come on my Instagram and talk about it. Like, whatever you want to do to get it out. I want everybody to feel safe voicing how they feel about these things. If you're somebody who, thinks this is great, and you don't want abortion, you don't want gay marriage, you don't want, people to be allowed to be trans, you want there to be more discrimination against people that you don't like or that don't look like you, please unfollow me. Don't comment on my stuff. This is not my job. I don't need subscribers who are with the fuck shit. You know what I mean? Like, don't come in my comments talking about you're happy about this, because I'm not happy about it, and I'm not about to deal with you and your nonsense. Anyway, sorry. I'm gonna let y'all go. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I love you guys. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health. I will see you next week. Bye.